Wait, I thought, didn't he say that Alex Jones is going to talk about the questions that they asked him specifically? They just forget that segment. You just went ahead and forgot to do that segment of the show that you promised to do. 8 minutes of that shit and nothing from Alex Jones about the questions.
It wasn't real. We made it all up. It was a complete work of fiction. It's not true. An outright fabrication. It's not real. It's a complete work of fiction. It's just simply not true. This one was invented by an arsehole.
Listen to what he says. This is critical to the whole ordeal here. Listen to his words. And believe me, this guy, I don't care what happens. If this guy goes to prison forever, not Alex Jones. This is a beautiful bastion of masculinity and intelligence, and everybody should watch Alex Jones as a barometer for what could happen to anybody else. I mean, he is the frog that is in the boiling water going, wait, water's warm, but am I gay? That's where Alex Jones is. He's in the pot as they're turning up the heat, and he's the only frog who can actually detect the different temperatures of the water. All right. But that being said, the other guy, I don't care what happens to that guy. He's some weirdo with an eye patch. Fine. Great. But we got to be clear on what he is actually saying.
We have men already stationed outside D.C. as a nuclear option in case they attempt to remove the president illegally. Illegally
remove the president. I mean, okay. Again, I have no interest in defending or supporting any of these people. I don't particularly care.
You gave us your word.
I hold your oath fulfilled. Go. Be at peace.
I think whatever January 6th was, I think it was a mistake and a bungle by the people who went into the Capitol building. I don't think they did favors for themselves or anybody else, and I think they gave a lot of ammunition to the political class, to the academic elites, to the news media to run roughshod over every single person right of Mao. I think that's the result. Now, whatever else you want to say about it, fine. That seems to have borne out, by the way. They've been pounding on this drum, and they'll keep pounding on this drum for the next year, maybe even the next 2 years after that.
Well, no fucking shit.
We will step in and stop it. So I've got good men on the ground already. We've been did a lead recon there last week, and we're sorting out where we're going to be staging, and we'll be there. We'll be inside D.C. We'll also be on the outside of D.C. armed, prepared to go in if the president calls us out.
Oh my! If the president calls us, which of course, no seeming indication that the president was ever going to call the Oathkeepers. They also cut that at two different places. So who knows what else was said? Look at that face. Again, you're at the playground. This guy comes up and slaps your kid's ass. What do?
God, he'd admit it. I mean, this was not some high-tech surveillance by the FBI. This wasn't some wiretap. Stuart Rose just went on Alex Jones's show and said, this is what we're going to do. And it sure sounds like, just in his own words, what he was going to do is seditious conspiracy right there.
No, it doesn't. No, see, in his own words, and he could be lying, by the way. He could absolutely be lying about this. He said, one, if they try to remove the president illegally, and two, he said, God damn it, I don't want to defend these people. Like, I really don't care. But for fuck's sake, he said, if the president calls us in, two things which didn't happen. Neither of those things occurred. Now, are there other seditious stuff? Maybe. I don't know. Again, I'd never even heard of the Oathkeepers until the other day. And from what I've seen of them, I mean, they're these guys walking around in bike helmets with beer guts. I don't.
Armed men stationed outside D.C. as a nuclear option to use force to try to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power.
No, the illegal, he said illegal. At least quote him, you fucking weirdo. You can make fun of him for anything else. I mean, the guy is probably going to go to prison. Just make fun of him for that. But man, if you're going to talk about him, just quote the words that he used. These guys, look, none of these people expected a peaceful transition of power. I talked to people about this. They talked to me and I was like, I don't know what you're expecting is going to happen. And they expected like the military to be involved. They were going to stop all this. They're going to do this. There's going to be some sort of coup attempt that was going to be undone by National Guardsmen stated. I mean, I talked to who believed it. They bought the sauce, man. They're like, oh yeah, this is going to happen. Trust me. I got guys in the military telling me they're going to reinstall Trump. They're going to not deinstall Trump. All this stuff's going to, and I'm like, I mean, sounds kind of like a movie, but not really like reality. So I don't know if I buy it. These people believed this shit was going to happen. They believed that Trump would be removed due to undue, unlawful uses of force and conspiracies from like Pelosi and other stuff. There were people out there who thought that was what was going to happen. Now, some of those people have realized that, yeah, okay, maybe that wasn't really going to happen. Other people think it was going to happen. It didn't, they didn't need to get around to it or whatever. They did it some other way. I don't know. It doesn't matter but people thought that. So the idea that these guys are out there just like, I don't know. I don't know. Where's the Alex Jones segment? The segment is entitled Alex Jones. We're 5 minutes into an 8-minute segment and they've only shown 1 second of his show and nothing about the subject. Oh,
God. The peaceful transfer of power being getting rid of Donald Trump because he lost the election. And speaking
That's not what they want. That's not what they were talking about. They may have also believed it, but why couldn't you find that quote then?
Alex Jones, the guy who was on your screen there, the man to whom Rhodes admitted the plot amidst his peroration about the deep state pedophiles. Alex Jones had his own run-in with investigators just yesterday. In fact, Alex Jones sat down.
Alex Jones sat down. Stop being so excited, Hayes. Calm the fuck down.
For the bipartisan House committee investigating January 6th, and to be a fly on the wall. He pleaded the fifth nearly 100 times instead of answering questions.
Are you ready here? I don't know. I've never watched this segment of MSNBC in my life. I don't think I've ever watched Chris Hayes in my life. I have no idea what he's going to say next. Are you ready for it though?
He's not the first to plead the fifth, and he is absolutely within his constitutional rights to do just that. But then when he went on his interview show and blabbed about the whole thing to his followers.
Yes, that's called pleading the first. We do that by just talking, you weirdo. But let's see how he frames that real quick. Let's re-listen to the framing and then the justification. I love it.
Alex Jones had his own run-in with investigators just yesterday. In fact, Alex Jones sat down before the bipartisan House committee investigating January 6th, and to be a fly on the wall. He pleaded the fifth nearly 100 times instead of answering questions. He's not the first to plead the fifth, and he is absolutely within his constitutional rights to do just that. But then when he went on his interview show and blabbed about the whole thing to his followers.
You can't walk in to something like that with people like that. I don't know who these lawyers are running it. I don't know if they're good people or bad people.
They're bad people.
They came off as polite and nice. But when you've got predators like Schiff back in the background, like a moray eel in the rocks ready to come out and eat you.
Look at that fucking desk. Alex Jones is rolling heavy.
Then there's no reason to even dignify it because it's not legitimate. That said, the questions were overall pretty reasonable, and I wanted to answer the questions. But at the same time, it's a good thing I didn't because I'm the type that tries to answer things correctly, even if I don't know all the answers, and they can then try to claim that that's perjury.
I mean, put that on the January 6th committee movie poster.
Oh, look, he's giving a measure of his penis. That's nice. I didn't even ask for that. But that's the same thing he put on his Grindr profile. That's weird. Put it on a January 6th. Yes, put it on the January 6th movie poster that these people are predators in the water that can't be trusted, that Americans would want to answer questions of their own government, but they so cannot trust their own government that they have to invoke the safeguard put in by the fucking founders as a protection against a tyrannical government. So Alex Jones says, I want to answer the questions. They were pretty straightforward, but basically these people can't be trusted with my honesty. If I give it to them, they'll try and come after me with a perjury charge or something else. So the founders actually baked in a hedge against tyranny. It says you don't ever have to answer a government question. You don't have to do it. And so he's saying, I want to do it. So yes, put it on the movie poster, Chris fucking Hayes, you retard. You don't even realize what you're saying. You're telling us to put on the movie poster that the government conducting the January 6 hearings is so distrustworthy that otherwise honest seeking Americans are wanting to invoke their Fifth Amendment right, put in as a hedge against tyranny because they kind of look like tyranny to them. It kind of looks like a setup. It kind of looks like the government fishing for criminality where they don't otherwise see criminality. Yeah, put it on the movie poster. Great logline. Tyrannical government holds hearings to trap citizens who want to tell the truth. Instead, they invoke the Fifth Amendment because they don't trust their own fucking government anymore. Yeah, put that right there. Great logline. Sell it. I'll go watch that movie all the time. You'll be sitting there jerking off your micro penis to your Grindr profile. Fuck you. God, I hate these people. I hate all these people. They're so awful and stupid. They're so dumb they don't even realize what they're saying.
Pretty reasonable, Alex Jones. So Jones admits the investigators were polite and that their questions were reasonable, but that he nonetheless refused to answer.
Oh my God. Do you not know how it works? Do you not know? Do you not understand? Hayes, you're in the most danger in the world when you go into the office and the cops are nice. That's I mean, when you go in and the cops are literally beating you and screaming in your face, and I know you fucking did, you piece of shit. That you know the score then. But when they're nice, you don't know what the hell's happening.
Because he did not want to get charged with perjury. Now, Jones also shared much of what the committee asked him. We'll get to that shortly, and it's interesting. But he also went out of his way to add this little tidbit about his friend Stuart Rhodes.
I saw it all as LARPing. I mean, I didn't see the Oathkeepers as bad people, but...
Really? The fucking Teletubbies walking around in tactical vests and helmets. You saw that as LARPing, huh, Alex? Appreciate man he is. Appreciate man. By the way, and I'm not saying that in any derogatory way. I think Alex Jones is one of the funniest people on the planet. He's spot on. I saw it as LARPing. Everybody saw it as LARPing. The only people who don't see it as LARPing is the government. And Chris Hayes.
But I saw a lot of it as playing soldier in the backyard. Their mission was something I really agreed with for most of its operations. But if the indictment's true that they thought that they could foment and kickstart and detonate a rebellion at the Capitol that would then lead to a larger war, that is not something I knew about or something I support or something I want.
Oh, my goodness. Your Honor, I don't know. They were dressing up. We were palling around. I got an internet show. I got nootropics to sell.
Yes. Yes. Someone like Alex Jones does not want an armed overthrow of the United States. Chris Hayes, what are you talking about? What do you think he's going to be anointed king of the wasteland that follows? What do you think happens? What do you think happens to an Alex Jones in a war with the state? Do you think Alex Jones, even if he's completely detached and removed, do you think that there's not an accidental Predator drone strike on Alex Jones's house and studio? Just happens, Scully taking off with his airplane and having to ditch into the Hudson, and he ditches into the Hudson several thousand miles away in Austin, Texas, in Alex Jones's pool. Like, do you think that's not what happens? Of course that's what happens. He doesn't want that. He wants to sell his supplements. He wants to do his show. He wants to talk to people about history and ideas. If you don't understand like what Alex Jones is, like just listen, go watch the Viva Barnes interview with Alex Jones. Like you want to get a glimpse without all the pomp and bravado of just who this guy is in a pretty vulnerable interview. Like go watch it. And you can learn a lot about this guy. And I mean, weigh for yourself what you think, of course. But this idea that Alex Jones would be the guy who wants the overthrow of the United States is crazy to me. People who have, Alex Jones makes a very good living doing what he does. In an overthrow of the government, Alex Jones's living goes straight to hell, and all of his stuff and money becomes worthless. I don't know that that's high up on the fucking agenda here, but here's I don't know. I don't understand these people.
I don't know what's going on. Now, a certain amount of this is likely just Jones covering his own legal exposure, but I think it's worth asking why Jones platformed the head of Oathkeepers, Stuart Rhodes, and allowed him to articulate his plan to use armed members to potentially disrupt the peaceful transfer of power if he didn't think they were actually serious about doing just that.
Chris, you platform people because two things. One, you find what people have to say in general, not specific people, interesting. And two, because you think the audience might find what people have to say interesting. That's it. It's the reason you platform. Does Alex Jones know that these guys are going to get on there and talk about the sedition? I don't know. I have no idea what kind of show prep Alex Jones does with guests. I know when I'm interviewing guests, I don't pre-screen their answers and ideas and topics. That's not how I do things. It may be how Alex Jones does things or how you do things. I have no idea. No idea. I know I do them wrong. Okay. I got that. I understand that I do everything wrong according to how the media does stuff. And maybe that's why I as just some loudmouth getting to be a fatso in Minnesota can attract a crowd of people to watch, like some pitchman on the fucking Atlantic City boardwalk or something. I'm like, come here, come on, I got to show you something, right? Like maybe that's why I'm able to do it, is because I don't do things right. I don't, I know that these guys probably know exactly what their guests are going to talk about. I don't know about Alex. I have no idea. But you find people in their stories interesting. The other thing, Chris Hayes, this is kind of important. They said they were there to stop the illegal, not peaceful transfer, that they were there to step in if an illegal transfer occurred. Because remember, these people were already anticipating violence from the government, from factions within the government. They expected a military coup. Now, you can call them crazy and stupid, and you can berate them and do all sorts of things to discount and discredit their ideas, their persons, their people. I don't care. That's fine. And but them being wrong doesn't mean that they didn't believe it. And you don't get to then pin some other thing on them.